Are you moving to Alaska? Whether it's for a new job, a PCS, or just a fresh start, there are some must-ask questions for your lender to make sure that you're ready for unique opportunities and challenges here. Let's dive into some of the top questions that you need to ask before choosing the right lender for your Alaskan move. As always, whenever we're talking about home loan financing, I'm joined by Bethany Yoakum with First Rate Financial. So thank you so much for joining us today. So let's get started. Bethany, what are some good questions that we should be asking our prospective lender about whether or not we might be the right fit for them, they might be the right fit for us, and just making sure that we're set up going forward?
Yeah, lots of great questions we can ask. I mean, we always recommend to meet with somebody if you can in person, maybe even like on a Zoom, just so there's a lot more that you can learn just by somebody face-to-face versus over the phone. But also, like, what are some loan options that are best for the marketplace? Alaska is a very unique state. And we have a lot of, not very many places where you live where it's like -50 consistently for an entire month. And so there's some uniqueness that goes along with that. A lot of our homes have to have well and septic. Some of our homes have to have holding tanks for their water, where you have to, pull it in, you have to go get it or have it delivered. And so it is important to ask your lender which loan options like VA loans and FHA and conventional, which ones are best suited specifically for your needs and for the home that you want to look at. Because not all, it's not just necessarily what loans and how much are you pre-qualified for, but does the loan that is perfect for your situation, does it pair well with the homes that you want to look at too? Because not all homes are compatible with all loan types. And so the lender can definitely explain how each loan type fits the market and which one might be the most advantageous based on your specific situation.
That is so super important, because I can't count how many times that we've, been super excited about a home only to realize that the highly structured VA loan just is going to be kind of a problem, or an FHA home loan is going to be a problem due to some of the cosmetic factors of this home that we're so excited about. So knowing all that stuff ahead of time is super important. As far as, getting in contact with a lender, how important is experience in our market when differentiating between lenders that we're working with?
So I've been in the real estate industry in Alaska for the past 13 years. And so, my family and I, we moved here for the military. My husband was in the military. And so definitely getting to know somebody who understands the uniqueness of Alaska and our climate and our weather, as small as, we don't have termites, so we don't require a termite inspection, because all of our underwriters, they may not be living in Alaska, but they understand, and they've been doing loans in Alaska for over 15 years. So we have a specific team that understands Alaska, and Fairbanks is even more unique than Anchorage or Wasilla. I know we have our own uniqueness up here. And just understanding the climate, paint doesn't dry at -20. And so to have a lender that is willing to escrow for those things, those repairs to be done in the springtime can make or break a deal. If your lender that, is on the East Coast that doesn't understand it, that, like I said, can make or break a deal. And also having a lender that is on Alaska time and not East Coast time. So a lot of those lenders are based out of the East Coast. And so if you're trying to close, but they've already shut their phones and doors by 1 p.m. or 2 p.m. Alaska time, then it's just very difficult to get anything done. It can prolong the process of everything, because you got to have everything in really before noon or 1 o'clock that day.
Well, not only that, but it could jeopardize earnest money too.
Yeah, exactly. That's a big one.
So that to have 1 or 2% of the purchase price of a home on the line just due to communication alone, that could be tough.
I saw one person, I brought up holding tanks. A lot of other lenders don't understand what that is. And they don't think that it is, if they're not used to it, and they don't have communication with the VA specifically on what a holding tank is, and that it's very normal for our area. I've heard them say that you can't buy this home because it's a holding tank. And so they killed the deal when they could have just gone to another local lender and they could have closed it, because we use that all the time and it is actually okay. So just having somebody that knows the area.
Definitely. That experience definitely pays off.
It really does. One other piece of just the uniqueness of Alaska is just understanding the foundations that we have too. We do have permafrost, and most people haven't even heard of permafrost. Justin, quite a bit more about that than I do, but just the different foundation structures that you have to have. A lot of lenders will say, we won't lend on this. And if you can show that it's common for the area, and have like an engineer's report on it saying that it is safe and sound for the home and it's been there. If it's been there for 70 years and it hasn't moved, you're probably going to be okay. But if you don't understand that, again, having a local lender who understands that that is normal for Alaska.
Yeah, I mean, foundation types are a big deal up here. They've basically been building with every sort of foundation type that you can imagine that might work for the past 70 years. So we've got, varying, evolutions of this foundation technology, and has been working okay. Some of it has not. And, identifying and working with a lender that knows a little bit about, the foundations that we're sitting on is super helpful.
Yeah.
So another big question that I get asked all the time is what's your experience with, approval timelines and trying to get transactions closed in the winter months?
We average about 45 days. And I think it's been 45 days to close in Fairbanks for the longest that I can remember. In the summer months, sometimes we can close a little bit faster, like 30 days. But in the winter, I always state 45. Sometimes it's 60. It can take a little bit longer in the wintertime if there are repairs that cannot be escrowed for the springtime. If it is a health and safety issue that has to be addressed, like the replacement of a window, sometimes that can get prolonged in general because it's Alaska, but even more so coming up from the lower 48 all the way to Alaska in the wintertime, sometimes is delayed. And so that can happen. And so we try to prepare for that with, maybe longer locks. If your interest rate is locked in, sometimes we'll go for like a 45 or a 60-day rate lock. So keep an eye out on those kind of things and just make sure that we're updating everything and letting our clients know when you're in the buying process that just to make sure not to finance anything new, just make sure that your financial picture looks the same as when you were pre-approved so that, if you are then waiting 90 days, let's just say that it takes to close to waiting on that window, that you don't lose your approval because you went out and bought a vehicle during that time. So just pump the brakes, hold on a minute, and don't change your financial picture while you're under contract.
Yeah, it's super important. We always talk with folks, hey, don't accrue any new debt, don't pay off any old debt without talking with your lender first.
Yeah, exactly.
Even though it could be, a potentially good thing, for your credit, it doesn't mean that it's not a new thing for your credit.
Right.
And you also hit it kind of on the head with windows. Sometimes because of the uniqueness of our properties, we don't have, standard size windows in every home. So the only way to get a hold of windows for your exact, window opening or rough opening is to have it measured and cut and built, a custom window set for you. And that can take 6 to 8 weeks on its own from the time that they get measured to the time that they're delivered and hopefully installed.
Yeah.
And that's nothing that we have control over. It's a completely separate, supply chain that we just have nothing to do with. So if we get to a situation where we need windows, we got to prepare for a long time.
Yeah. And you guys I know you do a good job up front when you're looking at homes to say, we're probably going to need that and try to get in front of that.
Because the soonest that you can identify a problem like that, the sooner that you can come up with solutions and get it worked out. Speaking of issues and things that could possibly come up, what does your process look like when it comes to having issues just fall out of the sky and say, oh, wait a second, we got to pump the brakes and figure out what's going on and come up with a new plan?
Yeah, just I think our team is actually really great problem solvers. It's kind of like an itch. If I got an issue, I have to scratch it until it's done. And so we just work with all parties. We work with everybody to try and get the problem solved so that it's a win-win for everyone. We work with our underwriting, we work with the buying agent, the listing agent, just to try to get what we need to get the problem solved. And I think that's one of the things about that's the beauty of being a broker. I have one going on right now where it's a fourplex, it's zoned for a duplex. We have lots of zoning issues here because a lot of stuff was built, a lot of our neighborhoods were built in the 60s and it's been rezoned. And so we have to get lots of grandfather letters. Well, this particular one said they wouldn't issue a grandfather letter. And so they basically said, it's illegal zoning essentially, but they're not going to, do anything about it. So it's like a grandfather letter. But anyway, I had one lender that said, absolutely not, it's illegal zoning, we can't move forward. But because we're a broker, then I was able to ask another lender, hey, what's your view on this? Like, how do you interpret this? And they said, oh, well, walks like a duck, talks like a duck, it's a duck. It looks like a grandfather letter. It's not a grandfather letter, but we're going to proceed like it's a grandfather letter, and so I'm going to be able to close on that loan. Great
thing to bring up too, because a lot of times when those big issues pop up, it's because there are no options on the table. Mm-hmm. But being able to shop around and find options is something that no other lender that we've ever worked with really does. Mm-hmm. At a high level. So it's really awesome being able to work through problems like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's important.
So one of the other things that I really enjoy about working with First Rate Financial is the amount of clarification and communication that we get at every step of the way. Like if there is a flow chart that would show the entire home buying process, like we're getting weekly to, if not a couple of times a week worth of communication every single time with every single transaction. So we don't run into this issue where our buyers are like, well, no, I don't really know what's going on. I haven't talked with my lender in a couple of weeks. They're in constant communication with your team, so they always know what's happening. And what we found is that when our buyers, when all of our clients are fully in the know about what's going on with their transaction, the overall experience tends to be quite a bit better because they're not constantly wondering what's happening. And that's one of the things that I love about working with you and your team is the dedication to constant communication.
Yeah, it's important to keep everybody up to date. There's a lot of moving pieces when you're buying a home in real estate. I mean, you've got like multiple conveyor belts going at the same time. And so you got your lender, you have your realtor, you've got the appraiser, you got title, you have repairs, and those are getting coordinated. You got to get your insurance set up. You got to get utilities switched over. There's all these moving pieces, and always can be one little tiny thing that can cause a hiccup. And so it's trying to anticipate those things and saying, hey, make sure I need this, A, B, C, D, and just keeping everything updated and keeping the client updated on where we're at with underwriting. Hey, you can expect an update from me in 3 days. Until then, you're going to hear crickets, but for 3 days, it's fine, or we're waiting on this piece. And just also keeping everybody else in the process. Like I mentioned, all sides, buying side, listing side, keeping everybody updated so that we could all work together as a collaborative team to get to the closing table.
Yeah, it's so important, and it's definitely seen on the client experience too. Yeah. And everyone is enjoying the process so much better.
Yeah, upfront to the client too. This is probably the biggest purchase you're ever going to make in your life, and so it's communicating. What are your goals? Like long-term goals, like short-term goals. Is it more important to have the lowest interest rate, or is it the most important to have the lowest closing costs? Because those don't always, obviously everybody would love both, but they don't always coincide, and so here are your different options. Do you ever plan on buying a home in this area again? So, maybe not FHA, maybe low conventional, and just finding, just really diving deep with the client and figuring out what's going to be best for them, and me not just giving them, like, here you go, you're pre-approved, go look for a home, but it's really diving in, going over what the interest rates are, what affects interest rates, this is why this interest rate is what it is. Having a deeper understanding and educating the clients, here's your payment and here's what you can expect for closing costs. And so you're not shocked at the closing table that your payment is $300 or $400 more than what you anticipated. We went over all those kinds of things. So knowing all that stuff up front so that you're not getting to the closing table and finding out and being stuck with a payment that you don't want.
So what questions do you have about buying a home in Alaska? Drop them in the comment section below and our lender will be happy to answer. Also, don't forget our Fairbanks relocation guide. It's packed with everything that you need to know for a smooth move to Fairbanks. So these questions are designed to give you the best shot at finding a lender who truly understands the Alaska market and can guide you through the process smoothly. Remember, knowledge is power when it comes to securing the best loan terms. So if you found this video helpful, hit the like button and subscribe for more content about living your best life in Alaska.